All other sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind until death. I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind from now until this time. Tomorrow I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent. I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent. I take refuge until Bodhi is reached by the merit of generosity and other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Vajra samaja, vajra samaja, vajra samaja. Protectors of all sentient beings without exception, deities who vanquish the ruthless hordes of Maras, knowers of everything as it is. Bhagawans and your retinues, please come here. Argam padyam pushpe dupe aloke gende nivedye shabda pratija soha. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, fog, continent, sun and moon. I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure realm, whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching. I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. Now to the general laying aside. Last great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who reside in the 10 directions and 3 times, I who am called Gunja Yishidurje supplicate you turn your awakened attention to me. From beginningless samsaric time until this very moment, under the power of the afflictive emotions, attachment, aggression, confusion, pride, and jealousy, I have committed the 10 non-virtuous actions. Through the gates of my body, speech, and mind, I have committed the 5 heinous crimes and the 5 secondary heinous crimes. I have transgressed the individual liberation vows, transgressed the precepts of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samayas of the great vehicle secret mantra. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards the 3 jewels. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my gurus and teachers. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my father and mother. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my companions in the pure spiritual life. I have abandoned the sublime Dharma and disparaged the noble Sangha. In short, I now lay aside all faults and transgressions whatsoever that have become obstacles to the higher realms and to liberation, and that have become the cause for samsara and the lower realms. Before you, the great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 times, I expose the faults. I confess them, I am contrite, I regret them, I will not conceal them. I will not hide them, henceforth I will restrain myself and abstain from them. If I do not expose and lay them aside, they will not be transformed. Therefore, by revealing and laying them aside, may they be cleared, may I be purified. Namo to the mandala of you, victorious Idam deities. Om, I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Vajra exalted body. Ah, I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Padma exalted speech. Hung, I expose and confess the broken samayas of the perfect exalted mind. Hri, I expose and lay aside the broken root and branch samayas. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed knowingly. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed unknowingly. The 3 non-virtues of the body, the 4 non-virtues of speech, the three non-virtues of the mind. I confess each of the 10 non-virtues individually with faultless disciplined conduct, possessing completely pure disciplined conduct, and through the disciplined conduct that is free of arrogance. May the paramita of disciplined conduct be perfected. To glorious Vajrasattva I pay homage. Om Vajra Sada Samaya Manupalaya Bhajasada Denova Didadida Membava Sudokaya Membava Anurado Membava Savasida Membaya Jasavakama Sujame Jidam Jiram Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Savadata Basama Memuja Basebava Mahasamaya Sadho Om Vajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Bhajasada Denova Didadida Membava Sudokayo Membawa, Subokayo Membawa, Anurado Membawa, Savasidi Membaya, Jasavakama Sujame, Jidam Jiram Guru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Bhajama Memunja Bhajrabhava Mahasamaya Sadho Om Bhajar Sada Samaya Manupalaya Bhajar Sada Denobha Dida Dida Membawa, Sudokayo Membawa, Subokayo Membawa, Anurado Membawa, Savasidi Membaya, Jasavakama Sujame, Jidam Jiram Guru Hung Bazarasada Samaya Manubalaya Bazarada Dermadira Dermazadam Zabogamo and Bazarasada Samaya Manubalaya Bazarada Dermadira Dermazudam Zabogamo and Umbazarasada Samaya Manubalaya Bazarada Dermadira Dermazudam Zabogamo. Om Bhajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Bhajra Dhanabadida Dhanam Sadagam Sabhagam Om Bhajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Bhajra Dhanabadida Dedam Membava Sadagam Membava Subhagam Membava Chidam Sriyam Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Savadada Basama Mujabasiva Mahasamaya Sadhu Om Bhajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Basasada Denopa Dida Dida Mimova Sudoga Mimova Suboga Mimo Norado Mimo Samasida Mimba Jasavakamasu Chedam Sreyam Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Basama Mimujabasari Mahasamaya Umbajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Basada Denopa Dida Dida Mimova Sudoga Mimova Suboga Mimo Norado Mimo Sarvasida Mima Jasavakamasu Jamajanam Ziram Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Bajra Mimujabasari Mahasamaya Sadho Umbajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Anurado Memoa Savasi de Memo Jasavakamasu Jame Janam Janam Guru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Samadagata Basama Mujabazibo Mahasamaya Sadho Umbajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Basada Denoba Dida Anurado Memoa Savasi de Memo Jasavakamasu Jame Janam Janam Guru Hong Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Samadagata Basama Mujabazibo Mahasamaya Umbajra Sada Samaya Manubalaya Basada Denoba Dida Memo Sadakamasu Jame Sarvaside Member Josavakama Sujame Janam Ziranguru Hao Magaman Samadharagata Besama Jabazimo Masamesata Umbajara Sata Samaya Manubalaya Bazata Denabadida Denamemo Sudogami Supogamo Savaside Member Josavakama Sujame Janam Ziranguru Hao Sadhu. Now page 9 of the Mahamudra manual. As I mentioned last week, this week we will give a little focus on the practice of mandala offering. First, the mandala that serves as a support for invoking the presence, visualizing the presence of the recipients of these mandala offerings, which is Guru Vajradhara in the center, with the 5 heaped mandala established in the space in front. The central heap representing Guru Vajradhara, the front heap, idam, all the idams, and of course especially idam Jagasambhara. Then the heap to the right is the Buddhas, past, present, and future. The heap behind is Dharma. And then the heap to the left is the noble Sangha. And so take a little bit of grains with your left hand, so that you're not holding the mandala plate empty-handed, as they say. Now hold the mandala on your left. This is the mandala of accumulation, the accomplishment mandala. The accumulation mandala is the mandala we offer. The accomplishment mandala is the mandala that is in the space in front. And then put some drops of saffron on top of the mandala surface, or drizzle some. Then pick up some grains and clean. Bhadra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bhadra Sata Samaya Manupalaya Bhadra Samaya Manupalaya Mahasamaya Sato. It says here, just as the mandala is free from dust, think that the karmic, emotive, and cognitive obscurations of all sentient beings are cleared. And then with Om Bhadra Bhumi Ahom in the center, you place 1 heap. Now Guru Vajradhara is right in the center. Then in front of Guru Vajradhara, the second heap, which is the heap of the idams. Third heap, the heap of the Buddhas. Fourth heap, the heap of Dharma. Fifth heap, the heap of the noble Sangha. Then, without needing to add another heap, just imagine, visualize in all the spaces in between, all the Dharmapalas, male and female Dakinis, Viras, Dakas, they all fill in all the spaces in between. And this way, then this put in front. Now the accumulations mandala. again, we have to clean this as well. So Bhadra Sato Samaya Manupala Didome was a dogam was a boy, Bazado de nobody done the number was a dogam was a boy. So when you clean, it's more like the inside of your wrist rather than the base of your hand. Yeah. The sprinkling of saffron, onto the mandala surface to clean. There is a story in the life of in the story of Naropa and his serving of his guru Tilopa. Maybe some of you already heard, the story of how before Tilopa would give Naropa any instructions, Naropa had to go through 12 major trials and 12 minor trials. And so basically Tilopa did not so easily give instructions to Naropa. So these are said to test Naropa's resolve, Naropa's understanding. But it's not just to test, it's obviously to build up his strength. And when Gilbert Rinpoche said, the Ngondro, the preliminaries are most important, he's talking about building up this kind of strength as well. I've talked about how that statement, the Ngondro is more important than the main practice. He's not talking about the 100,000s, right? You've heard me talking about that. He's talking about, everything the Buddha taught on the so-called basic level or the so-called beginner level. And those are the truly profound teachings. But because we are not able to realize fully and not convince from just these basic foundational, then the Buddha spent, the next 45 years teaching more and more fancy sounding things. To do what? To lead us to full understanding, full realization of what he taught. Essentially what he taught, just with the four noble truths. That's all. That if we truly penetrate, if we truly get to the heart of that teaching, then Buddhahood can be achieved. But we did not, right? Then another function, another purpose of these Ngondro, and so Tilopa's Ngondro for Naropa were these 12 trials. So in putting him through these 12 difficulties, major 12 difficulties and minor 12 difficulties, and Tilopa was training Naropa already, but no explicit instructions yet. Building up Naropa's strength on the one hand, and also pulling down Naropa's pride. And even obviously Naropa came to Tilopa, obviously there's no kind of surface level pride, otherwise he wouldn't go to Tilopa. And Naropa was a very famous, learned, knew everything. Naropa, he was one of the deans of Nalanda University. But he knew also deep down that even though he knew a lot of things, well respected by society, by polite society, and all of that, that he's learned, that he has learned this, he has learned that, but he doesn't really have the essence of what all this learning is pointing to. And so then he went to see Tilopa, but nonetheless hidden. is this pride. And so Tilopa needed to help Naropa remove all of that. But this story about the mandala is said that after passing all those, after a period of Tilopa helping Naropa build up strength, purify pride, purify the obscurations, Tilopa said, "Today I'm going to give you actual instructions. And so offer a mandala." It said that Naropa was very surprised, not completely not ready for this. Then looked around and there was nothing. It said that, so presumably that was a mandala base, but there was nothing to offer. And so it said that Naropa cut himself, his hand, and dripped blood onto the mandala plate and used that to clean. So the saffron is a lot less intense. Maybe in modern standards, more hygienic also. Now, we listen to these stories, obviously, don't take them as literally, don't, as they say, don't try this at home. But then also don't dismiss the story, like, oh yeah, it's just, yeah, fancy talking. No, Naropa did that, That was his capacity. Actually, the story says that this is a little like and then what did he put on top? There was nothing to put, and he said, I don't need this. He cut his ears and put and like offered as the mandala. So now just grains and some medicinal, extra medicinal things that you may offer, some semi-precious jewels, stones. If you are really fancy, you may buy a piece of turquoise, a piece of red coral, and crush it and mix into the offering. You can do that. So again, Om Banza Bhumi Ahong, the firm ground, the firm foundation. Then upon the firm foundation, in the center is Mount Meru. So we put a heap for Mount Meru in the center. In the eastern, Purva Videha. In the southern is Jambudipa. Then in the western, Apara Godaniya or Godaniya. And in the northern, Uttarakuru. And then the sun and moon heaps. The sun is in between eastern and Meru, and western and Meru is the moon. So now, then a sprinkle of grains above to represent all other jewels, all other desirable things as offerings. Then turn this so that the front is facing the recipients. The accomplishment mandala. Now this is the accumulations mandala. You offer the accumulations mandala to the accomplishment mandala. At the bottom of page 11, this ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountains, 4 continents, sun and moon I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, And you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them, O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels. I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. Now add for the second offering, add a few grains. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon. I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime Gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, and you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon. I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime Gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, and you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime Gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, and you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. My text got suddenly swiped too quick. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime Gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, and you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime Gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, idam deities, and you, noble three jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, idams, and noble three jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. Now think that the mandala of accomplishment give us all their blessings and guidance. You sweep this accumulation mandala towards you. And then the accomplishment mandala. Now you dissolve the recipients of these offerings, completely dissolve them into yourself and rest there a little bit in the inseparability between the objects of refuge and the one going for refuge, the objects that you offer to and you who is making the offering. The special preliminary, the first of the fivefold Mahamudra parts. For that, Kyupa Rinpoche say, if the steed of love and compassion does not run for the benefit of others, it will not be rewarded by gods or humans. Attend earnestly, therefore, to this foundational attitude. And this is on page 14 of our manual. So then to generate bodhicitta, begin with cultivating impartial loving kindness. Then also cultivate impartial compassion. For loving kindness, we use an object of kindness to begin with. Bring to mind someone that we recognize to have been very kind to us, and therefore then very fond, we could say very fond feelings arise towards them, and this fondness, you radiate to all without exception. For cultivating compassion, then the object that we use is someone that is either someone who is suffering, overtly like suffering, you can see that they're suffering, or even more powerful, someone who is, we feel to be causing us harm. And in both cases, especially the one who is causing us harm, see how their causing us harm is in fact harming them so powerfully, and therefore we give rise to compassion towards them. Then on the basis of this too, we make the bodhicitta vow, both in the aspiration and the action aspects. So page 20, let's chant that together. This is to give rise to aspiration bodhicitta. Now also in particular, there is a very powerful hurricane basically arriving in the Caribbean. So think of those who are in the path of danger and dedicate our practice to their safety. everywhere else, all those facing immediate danger and threat to their safety and life. In particular, we will dedicate and pray for them. I will overcome the mandala of the dark forces of Maras and the opposing forces, the enemies who hate me and all of us, the obstructors who harm us, and those who create obstacles to accomplishing the wisdom of liberation and all-knowingness for the sake of all mother sentient beings as vast as space. I will liberate those not liberated from the ocean of samsaric suffering. I will free those not freed from the bondage of afflictive emotions. I will give relief to those who have not found relief from the vehicles of the Shravakas and partaker Buddhas, and it will lead to the complete nirvana of the Mahayana, those who have not passed beyond sorrow. Then for action bodhicitta on page 23, at the top of 23 or possibly at the bottom of 22, we have PDFs that are maybe slightly different. Until I reach the heart of awakening, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. For as long as I live, and from now until this time tomorrow, I will take into my own experience this Mahayana profound path of the union of the creation and completion stages. Then our manual quotes the Bodhicayyavatara that says, from this moment on, even when one is asleep, or even when we are heedless, nonetheless a great force of merit and uninterrupted stream equal to space will continuously arise. Then page 24, glorious Mahamudra said, with the river of loving kindness not being cut, and the root of compassion being well moistened, the tree of bodhicitta having extensively grown, may the flower of the 10 bhumis emerge and cause the fruit of the 2 benefits to ripen. 2 benefits is benefiting ourselves, benefiting others. Then on page 25, on page 25, Kyoba Rinpoche says, if with one's body the king of deities exalted forms, the stronghold of the unchanging ground is not seized, the retinue of Dakinis will not assemble. Attend earnestly, therefore, to this body as idam. And so, this body as idam is how we have to train to relate to our notions of body. A body is not just one thing. Right? Body, there are various aspects to what we call body. One way of thinking about it, there is the material body. The material body. The material body is this body of flesh and bones. Then, on the basis of this material body, there also exists the energetic body or the Vajra body. Then more subtle than that is the mental, emotional body. And you could say that's mind. Yes, from another perspective, that mental, emotional body is mind. But if we want to discuss mind or understand mind in terms of body, then you could say there is the mental, emotional body. The mental, emotional body right now is a confused one. And so the mental body, the emotional body we hold on to, it's a temporarily manifesting samsaric body. So actually, it is that body that we hold on to so strongly that then leads to the material body experiencing, and manifesting the way that it does. And so it's the fixation, the confusion at the level of the mental, emotional body, and the mind in its aspect of a mental, emotional body, wrongly grasping, wrongly perceiving the body, that then the physical body manifests as a samsaric body, experiencing samsaric ups and downs, pains and disappointments. So, in order to dispel that, we have to, right, release this fixation on the mental, emotional body. And the mental, emotional body that is a product of confused existence, of the three poisons of delusion, is based on our fixation on this flesh and blood body. So in idam practice, the principle there is to completely dispel that fixation on the mental, emotional body, its fixation and the way it reproduces itself, to dismantle that and to see the true nature of mind, which is the true nature of body, which is Buddha. Which is Buddha. So here, especially Kyopa Rinpoche, in many places, when he gives instructions on cultivating the idam, he gives emphasis on there are several systems of how you sequentially cultivate the arising of the deity. One of his preferred way is to explain it through the five manifest awakenings. And the five manifest awakenings, the five abhisambodhi. So the manifest awakening as emptiness, the manifest awakening as sun and moon, the manifest awakening of emptiness, the manifest awakening of sun and moon, the manifest awakening of the syllable, the manifest awakening of the symbol, the mudra. Mudra here means symbol, and the manifest awakening of the complete and perfect exalted body of the idam. And these are the five manifest awakenings. Yes, so we have already looked at how that corresponds to also the way in which this samsaric existence arises. It's also the same five stages, but not unfolding as manifest awakening. You could say unfolding as manifest confusion. Confusion manifesting. So manifest awakening has that connotation. What are you manifesting? What are you presencing in this world? How are you turning up in this world? Right? So that's about how you present yourself, how you turn up, how you manifest. And so it said, our nature is always manifesting as the five manifest awakenings. But right now, we don't see that, we don't recognize that, and therefore we don't operate from that position. So this is the underlying and the principle, right? So now let's look at where we left off yesterday. So we are around page 28 there, and now with the description of Jagasamvara, of Idam Jagasamvara. I think a few meetings back I mentioned when I was just giving some general description of Jagasamvara, I may have said that, there's no crescent moon. I think I was not mindful. It's the Lama Deve Dorje figure that looks like Jagasamvara, but no description of moon. Here there is moon, there's a crescent moon. I think I was talking about Shiva, the imagery of Shiva. And Shiva has the Ganga River, and that is not in Jagasamvara, not in Deve Dorje, but in Jagasamvara there is a crescent moon. So he has a top knot, yeah? So it's described, so here on 28. Anyway, he has a top knot, yeah, at the top of 28, bottom of 27. And he says that his head is adorned with a cross vajra and a top knot of matted hair, tied with silk ribbons, beautified with a wish-fulfilling jewel. Then, if you read on, it says on the left side of his head he is adorned with a crescent moon. So if you look at how painters, Thangka painters, statue makers interpret this based on like oral instructions. So basically, his hair is tied up to a top knot, and then on the top of that braided hair top knot, and the very top is the wish-fulfilling jewel. On the left side, there is like some hair, kind of almost like a hair into three sides, top, left, and right. The buns, kind of small buns of hair, top, left, and right. If you look at the Thangka, you'll see on the left side is a crescent moon. On the right side is the double vajra, kind of inserted in there. So you could say, at best, you'll only see three sides of the vajra. It's a double vajra. So this side, I guess you could say, is pushed into the hair. So there's a three but three-sided vajra, cross vajra on this side of the hair. This side is a crescent moon. Then on top is the wish-fulfilling jewel. Yeah, just to correct some error that I may have inadvertently introduced. So a hanging garland of 50 fresh heads, strung on human intestines, adorned with 6 mudras. Here mudras are the symbolic attire, which is the bone ornaments. In this case, mudra means bone ornaments. And wears a tiger skin skirt. It possessed the 9 dramatic sentiments: graceful, heroic, ugly, laughing, wrathful, terrifying, compassionate, majestic, and peaceful. So let me continue to the description on 29 of Vajravarahi, here called Bhagavati. And then I'm going to go to Gyopa Rinpoche's set of instructions explaining the meaning of these features, which I started yesterday. But before I go there now, let's look at our present text. It says, in his embrace is the consort, Bhagavati, red in color, 1 face and 3 eyes. Her fangs fully bared. So in contrast, Chakasamvara's fangs are just slight. So in other words, not so wrathful, and he's smiling, but as he smiles, he reveals his fangs. In Gyopa Rinpoche's text, or maybe here, I forgot already, it says that, I think it's Gyopa Rinpoche's special instructions. It says, when you think of Chakasamvara's fangs, they should resemble more the fangs of that look more like the 8th day of the waxing moon. And specifically, he says, don't think of it like, the fangs of like a wolf or a dog. Then Bhagavati, Vajavarahi, her mouth is open and her fangs are fully, again, four, clear. Yeah. Her hair is loose. She wears a crown of 5 dry skulls and a hanging garland of 50 bone ornaments, and a girdle. Here, 50 bone ornaments, I may need to fix that a little. It's a 50 dry heads. In contrast, again, Chakasamvara is 50 fresh heads. Then a girdle of bone ornaments. From below comes the tinkling sound of bells, and the bottom of the girdle. With the 2 hands, so like at the bottom of her skirt, which is made of bone ornaments, are little bells tinkling. With her 2 hands, the right holds a 5-pronged vajra, and the left holds a skull cup of blood. And so here it says that she is holding a 5-pronged vajra. In later kind of clarification of this part, it says it's not a vajra, but it's a vajra handle of a curved knife. And that's more typical of Vajavarahi. It's a curved knife with a vajra handle. So we should visualize it that way. Then, and the left holds a skull cup of blood, so that's consistent with usually how it's described, and with which she embraces and offers to the Father, to the Lord. So this is a description then, of Vajavarahi. She's adorned with the 5 mudras, so 5 bone ornaments, naked and inseparable, and in inseparable union with the Lord. So this is the basic description of Varahi and Chakasamvara together. So if you look at how this is artistically represented, you'll see that her left leg is wrapped around the male deity's waist, kind of lifted, so she's very flexible. So her right leg is down and her left leg is kind of hooked around Chakasamvara's waist. So she's very flexible and probably knows yoga. Then Kyoba Rinpoche's this explanation for the further details, right? So he says, those 4 fangs is the vanquishing of the 4 maras. They are, so here it says, they are not like the fangs of a dog or of an ox, but are like the 8th day moon. But Chakasamvara basically has a smiling face. As a sign of having perfected all roots of virtue and actualized the mind itself, the Dharmakaya that is free from all conceptual elaboration, his braided hair is tied up in a top knot. And that's the meaning. Then, as a sign of his ability to help sentient beings to arrive at the state of perfect Buddhahood, then there is also hair that is left kind of downwards. So half of his hair is braided up into a top knot. The other half of his braided hair is just flowing down. So that then symbolizes the limitless great compassion and relative bodhicitta. As a sign of fulfilling the wishes and desires of all sentient beings, his crown is adorned with this wish-fulfilling jewel at the very top. It's a blue wish-fulfilling jewel, a blue sapphire. As a sign of accomplishing the benefit of sentient beings through various exalted activities, is the cross vajra that is multicolored, that is fixed to the right side of that top knot. As a sign that his bodhicitta increases higher and higher, then on the left side of that top knot is a waxing moon. It's a crescent moon, but it's a crescent moon that is growing. So that is a sign of bodhicitta always increasing. And as a sign of honoring his guru that introduced to him the self-arisen co-emergent mind, co-emergent wisdom, there is Buddha Akshobhya also seated on his head. Buddha Akshobhya. The form of Buddha Akshobhya basically you could visualize as a Buddha, blue in color, in the right hand pointing, touching on his right hand on his right knee, left hand in the meditation posture, and then on his palm is a blue vajra. If you want all the details, that's Buddha Akshobhya. Then Kyoba Rinpoche says, don't visualize him stiffly, like a painting, like a statue, but know that his body is slightly bent in 3 curves. So that's helpful, to just think, and don't need to go, wait, and where are the curves? So think of him, flexible and curvy body, with a pleasing aspect of being flexible and supple. And then silk decorations, fluttering in the wind, because tying his top knot are silk streamers. As a sign of being endowed with the 5 primordial wisdoms, then here he has the 5 dried skulls. The 9 dramatic sentiments. Remember the 9 dramatic sentiments? Yeah. So what are they? So let's go and look at that again. He possesses now on our text here on page 8, right? Graceful, heroic, ugly, laughing, wrathful, terrifying, compassionate, majestic, and peaceful. In a slightly different, I think it's just a translation. I'm trying to see heroic, repulsive. So what is translated here as graceful, right? It's actually not graceful. Let me see. I have to look more carefully. Like I said, our practicing together allows me to refine, polish the translation. Okay, it's not, that's what I thought. It's not graceful, actually. graceful may be just kind of a polite, it's amorous, desirous, seductive, or we say sexy. That's the first kind of attractive, and I guess graceful, attractive, then heroic, and then repulsive. These three. So these three, Gilbert Rinpoche is quoting this one tantra within the cycle of Chakra Samvara tantras. So the Chakra Samvara system has not only one text, it's like its original. There's all these tantras usually don't just stand alone. They usually come with a group of other tantras. So within the Chakra Samvara family of tantras, and there's the Chakra Samvara root tantra, there's the Chakra Samvara tantra, then there is something called the Samputta tantra. So this is from the Samputta tantra. From the Samputta tantra, it is said that the male and female aspects of Chakra Samvara in union expresses the seductive, attractive, amorous sentiment. Then them, pressing down on Bhairava and Kalaratri. Remember we talked about that yesterday and what that means. That is expressing the heroic sentiment. Then the garland of heads and the nudity expresses the repulsive. And these three expresses qualities of the exalted body. The 9 is matched up with the exalted body, exalted speech, exalted mind. Awakened body, awakened speech, awakened mind. So again, right, the first 3 in our page 28, so modify the graceful to attractive or amorous, heroic, and ugly. Then those 3 sentiments, right? First one, the attractive, the desirable, is the male and female aspects of Chakra Samvara in union. Then pressing down on the 2 extremes is the heroic mode, expressing the heroic mode, and then the wearing of the skulls strung with intestines, the severed heads, and the nudity expresses the ugly. So here, it's saying these 9, just as a dancer uses these 9 basic emotions and expresses them in a way that entertains, in a way that inspires, in a way that satisfies the audience. In practicing idam, we also transform our 9 sentiments into the service of benefiting beings. Then the next is translated in our text right now. I may modify them. Laughing, wrathful, terrifying. So here Kyoba Rinpoche says, possessing a passionate radiance is the laughing sentiment. The round and red corners of their eyes and the 4 bad fangs is the fierce or the wrathful. In our text translated as wrathful. Fierce. Causing all the asuras to be terrified is the terrifying sentiment. And these are the sentiments related to exalted speech. Then holding Vajra and bell while embracing the consort is the compassionate sentiment. Adorned with the major and minor marks of the Buddha is the majestic sentiment. And that his inner desire and other afflictions are cleared, pacified, that is the peaceful or pacifying sentiment. And these three are qualities of exalted mind. As a sign of having abandoned grasped object and grasping subject, he wears a loincloth, a loincloth of fresh tiger skin dripping with blood. And here Gilbert Rinpoche said this loincloth is quite long. It almost touches the sun disk at the bottom of his feet. And surrounded by a blazing mass of fire. And that is to incinerate the outer and the inner maras. As a sign of having achieved, purified the 6 paramitas, he is endowed with the 6 bone ornaments. So what are the 6? Necklace, bone necklace, is a sign of having perfected disciplined conduct. Bracelets and armlets is the paramita of generosity. The crown jewel, and the bone wheel, some things that bone ornaments on the head, is the paramita of diligence. Belt, girdle, and anklets is the paramita of meditative concentration. Earrings is a paramita of patience. Then finally, ashes that is smeared on his body. That is the paramita of wisdom. Now, right? No need, right, to try to memorize all of this. Begin with just a recognition that all the appearances of Chakasamara, male and female, are expressions of innate Buddha qualities. To kind of keep that understanding. Then, whatever details we can remember, that's good to keep in mind, because that is part of what's called, right, mindful of the purity aspect of the deities. Remember, there are 3 things, 3 kind of areas of training in creation stage. One is the clarity of visualization. The more clear we can see this in this image, better. Then, after seeing these features clearly, or as working on this clarity, we should not just see these features as mere, physical features, but that they are outer expressions of inner Buddha qualities. So that is the recollection of purity, remembering the pure meaning of these external features. Then the third one, which is related to the understanding of the 5 awakenings, is to cultivate divine pride, grasping the pride, the confidence, the conviction of being deity. And so these are the 3 elements often mentioned in creation stage practice. So now we have already arisen as the deity, male and female. And then on page 29, from the light rays and blazing mudras of the Hung at his heart, the hosts of deities of the Chakra Samvara Mandala are invited from their natural abodes. So basically, light goes out from the Hung syllable in the heart of the male deity. It's not mentioned here, but you could also think in the heart of Vajravarahi is a Vam syllable. From their heart centers, light goes out to invite the actual deities of the Chakra Samvara Mandala to come from their natural abodes, wherever they are, where they are naturally present, invite them to come, then make outer and inner offerings. And so in our text, the offerings part is not given. You're supposed to do it. And so like inserts. Later texts would put those inserts in, but not in this early manual that we have, which means then this manual really is more for individual practice, which is the style of the early practices. There's very not much emphasis on like gathering together as a group, to do practices together. And so then here, without needing to lay out like a practice text, but rather as a manual for individuals, then there's also a little bit of kind of flexibility, in terms of how much of these offerings, recitations that one wants to do. And this is on having made outer and inner offerings, then recite Ja Hong Bam Ho, and thereby hooking, then drawing in, then binding, and then pleasing is the Ja Hong Bam Ho. And this is the mudras for the 4 syllables. And these 4 syllables have the function of hooking, like catching the wisdom deities. Then Hong is drawing in, Bam is to bind, and then Ho is to please, making them of one taste. What's them? Them is referring to what you have visualized, what you have made present, and the actual Chakra Samvara and Vajravarahi and the entire mandala. They and you now become one taste, become one reality. Then it says here, bless your crown center. Crown is crown center with a white Om, your throat with a red Ah, and your heart with a blue Hum. Here I want to point out it's a little different in an interesting way from later sadhanas. Later sadhanas will do the Om Ah Hong, will point out the placing of the Om Ah Hong before inviting the wisdom deities. Here, to invite the wisdom deities, in our manual, it says just the seed syllable of Chakra Samvara is sufficient. Then, the wisdom deities now become one with us. Then Om Ah Hong is placed. And then light goes out again. Now to invite the deities of empowerment, the 5 Buddha families, to come and give empowerment. but we'll do this tomorrow. Yeah. So, any questions before we end of what we covered so far?
I have a question,
Yes.
just a general one.
Yes.
So, a lot of what's in this practice, it seems like it's instructions, right? It's
Yes.
not necessarily to be recited, whereas in other texts we've had, the instructions are kind of in italics. Am I just sort of,
This is an early manual where there is very little recitation per se.
I see. Okay.
We're working with a very early manual.
Okay.
And later on, people then begin to arrange them and sometimes even arrange them into verse form so that it can be chanted. This, I think, really represents some departure from early, as I said, early communities did all this alone, first of all. And there could be 10,000 people living in the valley, but they are all practicing in their own space. There's no performative aspect in the sense of, you know, 10,000 people gathered and then, at the same moment pick up the vajra and the same moment pick up the bell. So here, no, it's all kind of, it's a manual. It's not a liturgy. Yeah, if we could differentiate it that way.
So then when I'm doing a practice with this in front of me, I just read it silently, and when it says recite, then I recite, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for some people, this is like, I don't like this. This is messy. I don't know. For me now, I like this. I think again, it goes back to earlier precedents, that I feel is, I'm not saying this move, right? For me personally, this move or this interest in looking at earlier texts, it's not so much motivated by, oh, later things have become corrupted. We need to go back to a pure earlier period. Not not because of that. Maybe there is some kind of hidden feelings like that. Maybe, but it's not motivated by this idea that earlier would be purer, later is all corrupt. But rather kind of looking at our situation, meaning like you, me, those of us here in the West, in a different culture, with different backgrounds, right? Feeling like there is a certain simplicity that is in the early experience of the Tibetans that resonates with our situation. Just as we are in the early stages of the transmission of Buddhism, and it doesn't make that much sense for our context to be overly kind of busy with highly liturgical things. Of course, there's always a balance, right? We're also building community when we're gathered together, then certain communal practices. But in terms of the Fivefold Mahamudra, especially, Fivefold Mahamudra was never done to kind of like show the public. It was never a liturgical practice with an audience there. There are other things like that, like for example, the 1,000 offerings of Ushnisha Vijaya, which we did this year for His Holiness. That is a communal practice and designed to be so. And then many of the Drupchans are also communal in nature, and part of how they function is to kind of make a big display of Buddha activities, you could say. But the Fivefold Mahamudra, then and now, is meant to be, transforming and changing on the deepest level, and therefore, private and personal. So I'm hoping, like, the way we are going through this early manual, one round is just an introduction, really, but that is a meaningful introduction. That you get first, like the feel of this, right? The more inner experience of this. Then when you have finished when we have finished this manual together, and then you kind of like get a good kind of sense of like, oh, this is how it works. Then maybe when you look at the later manuals with a lot more like a liturgical, and they might become very useful, these later texts actually. What I fear, and in my own experience, is like if we are first exposed to this more recent text, which is very liturgical, at least for me, I fell in the trap of like performing, like da 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 la 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 la, or ring ring ring, and put this down, la 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 la, and then I'll put that down, I'll pick this up, then, drowning. And even if you don't drown, you're just swimming in all these details, but never really savoring, right? The actual flavor of this. And so this, I think, is a way of really working with the practice, a way that I feel can be helpful to many of us. In Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan now, I think because of the way most like serious practitioners, which means monks and nuns, because of how they grew up, so they joined the monastic community, and the monastery has annual, right, ritual calendar. Right? In January, we focus on this, and all this are usually public events, and including like 5-day Chakra Samvara ritual practice. Then people come, and it's a big occasion. People come and make offerings to all those who are doing the ritual and make offerings at the monastery. So there's a whole social, economic aspect to that, of course, but it's also spiritual, of course, not denying that. And because of those circumstances, they master the liturgical first, becoming experts in that, But frankly, I think very few of them actually have a taste of what is this really doing. For that, some of them become interested, then they find opportunities to go into retreat. And contrary to what you may think, just because you live in a monastery and just because you say, I want to do retreat, doesn't mean You can. Like, no, we need someone to continue cooking in the kitchen. So yeah, good luck. Stay there. Yeah. So recently I had to kind of intervene and arrange for a nun to go into retreat because she's like, I can't get a spot myself, you know. So most of the time, yeah. So don't. So this is also saying, you know, don't like get distracted by feeling, oh, my condition is not so conducive, la la la. It's what we make of it, you know. You think, oh, more conducive if I was a monk or a nun in a monastery or nunnery in Asia. Yeah, well, good luck. This is just your projection. Conducive or not is up to the resolve that we have, you know. How determined are we? So in many ways, you know, our condition here is very conducive. For the most part, nobody tells you, you know, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. Yes, generally there's gender inequality, you know, in Asia, more so than in the West. But on any given day, you know, many men in Asia have less freedom than anyone in the West. So many things in society are actively, not so actively, overtly, not so overtly, having a say over what you should do, should not do, cannot do. Many of us don't have those constraints, and then yet we, you know, kind of don't appreciate the situation we have and fantasize about some other situation somewhere else. And then, yeah, never. Even when you get to Devachan, you know, you still, you know, like, Amitabha, you're kind of distracting, you know. Even if you succeed in your poa, you know, I'm sure you'll find some excuse. I don't know, this lotus, you know, it's a little puffy. I don't know, I have allergies to this lotus, you know. Then no matter where we go, right, we always find excuses to say no time, no conducive environment. Constantly people call me to go hang out, to go to the movies, go to the opera. Oh, so much distraction. You know, if only I can move to, yeah, dot, 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 right? No. Want or don't want, that's all. As Yoda says, you know, do or not do. No trying. There is no trying. Do or not do. That's all. Changchu Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ge Banam Ge Gyuche Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Ya Gong Ne Gong Du Bel War Shou. Okay, we continue tomorrow. Just to kind of to anticipate that. Daylight savings, you know, time change in the U.S. is happening soon, November 2nd. When time changes, we slightly change our time too, slightly, which means instead of 8:30, we start at 8. Right? Instead of 8:30, we're going to start at 8. New York time 8, then correspondingly, whatever your time is going to become. I think yeah, I don't know, it's all complicated. I don't want to further confuse you. You check and see, whatever. And I cannot keep track. Are we going into daylight savings or going into standard time? So whenever we advertise things, I would say New York time. And so you go look up what time it is in New York in relation to your time, then figure it out from there, okay? Instead of 8:30, we'll start at 8. So it's a half an hour adjustment for everyone. Okay, bye-bye, tata.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Selamat pagi, selamat malam.
Tata.
Gracias.
Dr. Lai.